Fairness, equal opportunity, common decency. You'd think every American should enjoy those basic rights, especially at the vital, fundamental human activity of seeking or performing a job. But for too long, too many Americans have suffered discrimination with no recourse because of their race, color, gender, national origin, age, disability, or religion, factors that have nothing to do with their ability to do a job well. Passing laws to make such discrimination illegal and enforcing those laws have been a long struggle. In the 1930s, President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal began the extended process of addressing those injustices. President Harry Truman's executive order desegregating the armed forces in 1948 was a huge leap forward. But in the 1950s, President Eisenhower's Civil Rights Commission found still widespread employment discrimination in government. In the meantime, civil rights struggles intensified as Americans demanded the rights that now seem so basic. In 1963, a full century after the Emancipation Proclamation, President Kennedy sent a comprehensive civil rights package to Congress.
We face, therefore, a moral crisis as a country and a people. We have a right to expect that the Negro community will be responsible, will uphold the law, but they have a right to expect that the law will be fair, that the Constitution will be colorblind, as Justice Harlan said at the turn of the century. This is what we're talking about, and this is a matter which concerns this country and what it stands for. And in meeting it, I ask the support of all of our citizens.
After Kennedy's assassination, President Johnson made a major push to get the civil rights legislation passed.
This Civil Rights Act is a challenge to all of us to go to work in our communities and our states, in our homes and in our hearts, to eliminate the last vestiges of injustice in our beloved country.
On July 2, 1964, President Johnson signed the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the most significant piece of human rights legislation in a century, and one of Title VII's key provisions gave birth to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, to be the government's premier champion against employment discrimination. The EEOC opened its doors on July 2, 1965. It was immediately clear how badly needed the new agency was.
The agency had been designed, I guess the thought was that within the first year, we probably would get somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,000 charges. Okay. When they opened the doors, there were probably already 3,000 charges waiting in a mail hopper, waiting to drop on us.
New laws and amendments in the 60s and 70s gave the EEOC its litigation teeth, as well as new protections based on age, pregnancy, and sexual harassment. Over the decades, the Commission continued to help discrimination law evolve as new issues came to the fore and new measures arose to fight injustice. 2 additional civil rights laws came under the EEOC's enforcement responsibilities in 1978, the Equal Pay Act, which prohibits wage-based gender discrimination, and the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. Also in 1978, Congress amended Title VII with passage of the Pregnancy Discrimination Act to protect women from workplace bias due to pregnancy, maternity leave, or related medical conditions. The EEOC has played a pioneering role in developing legal theory on sexual harassment, recognizing it as a form of unlawful sex discrimination in 1980. The federal courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court, have followed the EEOC's lead, such as in a landmark 1986 ruling that harassment that creates a hostile environment violates Title VII. America's long march toward equal employment opportunity took a huge stride forward in 1990 with the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Title I of this landmark legislation gave protection to millions of qualified people with disabilities who were either in the workforce or seeking gainful employment. Former EEOC Chairman Evan Kemp Jr. was one of the chief architects of the ADA and oversaw the implementation of Title I during his chairmanship.
And on your behalf, as well as the behalf of this entire country, I now lift my pen to sign this Americans with Disability Act and say, let the shameful wall of exclusion finally come tumbling down. God bless you all.
Since its implementation, the ADA has accounted for more than 20% of the EEOC's caseload, as hundreds of thousands of people with disabilities have sought the Commission's help.
The EEOC has been swamped with 50,000 complaints of discrimination under the Disabilities Act. Gilbert Casillas, chairman of the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Until people realize that the Act means what it says, that we intend to enforce it, that they need to get beyond the fear and the myth and the stereotype and actually hire some people, you're not going to see a change in the employment statistics.
In September 2001, former EEOC Chair Carrie Dominguez traveled to New York to announce the Commission's groundbreaking sex discrimination case against a major Wall Street brokerage firm. The next day was 9/11, and the EEOC's New York office was in World Trade Center No. 7, right next to the downed towers. The offices were destroyed, along with all the files and equipment in them. The EEOC's operation in America's most populous city was now homeless. Mercifully, all employees of the EEOC's New York office survived this nightmarish day. But the EEOC's New York employees could not slow down their mission. They had to rebuild and carry on. Too many people were depending on them.
What we do, I think, at EEOC is to try to bring tolerance, equality, and justice into the workplace. And the workplace is where the majority of people spend the majority of their day. So, in a sense, I see our work as more important than ever.
And 9/11 brought a newer set of discrimination issues to the fore.
We've called this meeting to focus on the employment issues that the events of September 11th have triggered and our responsibilities relating to them. We have received many reports of employment discrimination since September 11th against people who are or are perceived to be Arab, Muslims, Sikh, Eastern or Middle Eastern or South Asians.
The 21st century brings new challenges to the EEOC's more than 50 field offices and fewer than 2,500 employees, more than 1,000 fewer than a quarter century ago. America's demographics are shifting. Technology, immigration, and the evolving workplace all play a part. Ever higher numbers of people of all races, creeds, and national origins now fill the nation's workforce. Teenage workers have also surged into jobs where they have too often been victimized by sexual harassment. To address this serious issue, EEOC Chair Naomi Earp spearheaded a new EEOC campaign, Youth at Work, to draw attention to this growing type of misconduct against our most vulnerable workers. But even as new issues emerge, past issues like race discrimination have never gone away. Throughout the Commission's history, racial bias has been the most frequent type of complaint coming into the EEOC's doors, and it still accounts for around 35% of all charges. The same injustices which led to the founding of the Commission and lay at the foundation of its core mission are still with us today. It's been a long and difficult march. For 40 years now, the EEOC's professionals have risen to meet challenge after challenge as the nation has gone through many upheavals and dramatic workplace changes. Justice, like life itself, isn't a final destination, but a continuing journey. No matter what issues the future may bring, the EEOC will keep advancing up the path of employment justice for all Americans.